Morning.
Morning.
I've been hearing all about this Idaho case,
Okay.
murder thingy-majigger.
But I don't know
from
any
you,
new
but
news.
hold on. From you all the time, and you say you don't have any new news, and you always have
week.
new news, but we're going to talk
This
about
week,
it.
I don't
Now,
know.
if everybody out there doesn't realize that we are very happily married, and that I get to listen to Stars and Dateline crap and old Matlock episodes and Law and Order and all this jazz, but she does have a major interest. Paige here has a major interest in things legal and procedures and things like that.
Processes.
And so
people.
then, thus, she had, I'm just setting the table for you. Thus, she had a lot of questions when it comes to this Idaho, whatever the thing that's
Idaho
going on.
4 murder, Moscow murders. You can say it. You gotta say it right.
The Moscow, Idaho murderers.
Murderers. I swear. Okay.
And so you had a ton of great points and stuff that a lot of the mainstream media and the performative media, which I do believe is Dateline, and I do believe that there are a lot of people mad at me right now, and that's fine. I think Dateline's performative and it's not informative. And I do believe that it did screw the pooch for somebody on this sucker, but let's talk about
Well,
it.
let's talk about that because, why in the first place? Okay, look. So what are we talking about exactly? Like, we're talking about.
You're interviewing me now.
No,
I'm
I
just
know.
answering questions.
So we're talking about the Idaho murder,
Yeah.
and then the Dateline special that just came out about 3 weeks ago now, that dropped a bunch of information that was under a gag order from a source on the inside, like on somewhere on the inside, but it must have been legitimate enough because it's caused
Quite the stir.
yes, and so.
So Dateline
So-
comes out and does this big old long story and has a bunch
do a
of
2-hour
evidence that hasn't been released to the
Right.
media
That's
or
been
hasn't been
speculated
released.
to be
It's been a
there.
speculation, but they've got like
But
videos and
They
evidence
had
and blah,
a
blah,
video,
blah, blah.
They played a video of surveillance that was not in the public already. They showed information on his phone, from his phone. They had his phone or a copy of his phone, and they shared what they think, what is the going theory in law enforcement about the order of killings and why the main target, which was not known.
Okay.
They did not know. No, that wasn't known. They also shared certain details about again which order, the 4, because there's 4 kids. Dana does not know, but it was 4 kids. I mean, he does know a little bit, but he doesn't know the kids.
Okay.
And there were 4 kids killed, 3 girls, 1 boy, and the boy was visiting. He was not living there.
Okay.
Right. So.
Okay.
I mean, heck, where do you even start? This is way too long to.
No, it's not.
But
It could be very
the
short.
Dateline special did drop all of that within very much information, like,
Right.
like the legal, like the theory on the law enforcement side or on the prosecution's theory of.
So there's your
exactly how it
leaker.
happened. So there's a leaker, and so the judge ordered an investigation into who that is.
Okay.
And so this new judge that I guess it's the 3rd venue.
Okay.
This is a 3rd, not a 2nd venue.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And
This judge was hot to trot to get this thing to trial.
the judge was not
Get
putting
this
up
circus over with.
with, right. He was not putting up with, he's just a hard line. But now he's had to really think.
Okay.
Well,
what
now,
are we
so
gonna do
this
now?
is what the last I knew was it was under consideration to push the trial back in the first place because it'll be too fresh on people. The Dateline special will be too fresh on people's minds, and it's tainted too many people.
What about a motion to suppress?
So that hadn't been put out yet but she had the lead attorney, his lead defense attorney had said that it may require further, much more serious remedies than just pushing the date back. Like
That was the judge initiating that. That much I know. That was not whatever public defender that has a fancy name.
But I think she had, before that Dateline special came out, she had asked for A couple things. I think the death penalty to be removed because he had his autism, which the judge denied. That's not a meant. I don't know. I don't know the legal term. This would be good. I wish I was prepared. I could have asked, but I'm curious. Is that, do you think that would stand in a court of appeals?
No.
It would be appealed
No.
No.
I mean, you can appeal anything. Would it work is your question.
Right.
You can appeal anything, and oftentimes people do because they don't have nothing better to do when they're sitting in prison than to appeal after appeal after appeal. Will it work? The judge's ruling on whether or not the death penalty can be imposed. Where do you stop that? If you begin to rule on because this person has, because this person has, because this person is, because this person is, the death penalty doesn't apply. No, that's for a trier of fact, and then the judge to then levy and to have that option. And the judge is just basically saying they don't want to lose that option because it's one of their options of sentencing.
Interesting.
And so it's really a lot of fun to talk about, but it really isn't that huge in the grand scheme of things, because that's just a card the judge wants to keep in the pocket there. He might very well already know he's not going to use it, but he doesn't know this defendant until after the trial is completely done. Like he doesn't.
The jury does not find them guilty.
No, they find them
death
guilty.
Penalty. Sorry.
Yes.
Doesn't find for.
That's a judge. That's a sentencing arm of
After
the system.
Been found guilty.
Yes. After if they find him innocent, doesn't matter. Off he goes into the sunset.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Right.
Okay, I mean that was the least. But the point was that he's been like, no, I'm not pushing the date back. It is like no reason whatsoever.
Well, what the crap information did Dateline have? Tell me some of the stuff.
I just told you. So
tell me some of these things.
Okay, well, a couple things, like new information.
Yeah.
Several weird things. So about the case itself, they released a surveillance tape that had never been seen, but they released the audio.
What did that have on it?
It had a white car. Okay, now I see where you're getting.
I would like all of these types of details.
Okay.
I like this.
It has a white car.
A white car. What kind of white car?
Yeah, I cannot tell one difference.
Okay.
I could not
what
tell
kind
one
of
difference.
White car?
A small, I would say probably 4-door. I guess.
Didn't they have the make and model of said car?
They said it was a Hyundai Elantra.
Oh, there you go. All right, we lead with that. So a Hyundai Elantra between 2000 what and what?
So I can't. So first they had said 2011 to 13. Then they, a couple weeks later, they put it. So the defense says after they liked him for it, they then opened up that window to 2016.
Oh.
So to 2011 to 2016, but before Koberger came into the picture, it was 2000.
Who's Koberger?
Koberger is the defendant.
Oh, he's the guy that they like for the murder?
He's the accused,
They think that he did this? Okay.
Yes.
So you asked me as a defense guy what I would do with that. That's why we're doing this whole thing, is to reenact that awesome conversation we had in the car.
Okay. I do.
And so I just want to slow it down and make it more like our conversation in the car.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be long drawn out. This can be just a nice conversation like we had in the vehicle. We're driving along and we talk about these things. Yes, we are incredibly fun.
Well, I thought this would be a good podcast.
I'm the one that said we just did a podcast.
You caught me on too.
And so anyway, so I'm defending this thing and I put defense hat on. The first thing that I'm doing, there's a lot of speculative evidence that you talked about. A lot, it's just really not.
Do you want me to say it all and you can pick it apart?
No, let's go with the car first.
Okay.
So I'm going to deal with it one at a time. And I'm not going to bog down the jury and bore the jury with it. I'm going to say, I'm going to run how many of the most likely one of the more common vehicles in Idaho/Washington that is in that climate is that vehicle. No, not everywhere. Is that vehicle. No, it's a granola vehicle like you can't believe. That is a granola vehicle. All right. So you go to Flagstaff, for example, you're going to see a lot of those. But you go to Scottsdale or you go to Phoenix or you go to, here in the East Valley, you're not going to see as many. You're not per capita, per car. You're going to see a ton of those types of cars, like a Subaru. Where do you see Subarus? Where they, hug trees and dye their hair one color on one side and have a nose ring and pour coffee for a living. But you see them driving a Subaru because they're made out of love. And they're front-wheel drive, and they're usually in Birkenstock bill, wherein they either have their moccasins or Birkenstocks on. So there is a type, okay? And that area has that type of vehicle. And so the most common color for that type of vehicle would also be white.
Got it.
And
so
the fact
how
that
many
they,
are there?
and I would kill them, kick them 1,000 times over. Why did you expand since you have the surveillance, you can see the vehicle right here. Why did you expand the years, makes, and models here? Why did you expand it? Why did you expand it to fit this person? Why did you expand it? Because the model likely had changed, the look of the vehicle likely had changed 2 or 3 times within that 2011 to 17 or whatever the case might be, or once.
Which, by the way, it's just a white car driving by 3 times that night, which is a Saturday night. So I'm not saying...
Was it a Grubhub?
It could have been. That's what I'm saying. Right. So there's no license plate.
So we have circumstantial evidence.
Absolutely.
Right.
But, yes.
So they're trying to mount a case based on a lot of circumstantial evidence. What's the next thing that they found on the Dateline there?
Well, there's a lot of that, but there is one piece of DNA. Right?
Partial.
There is partial DNA.
You led with partial,
okay.
and I'm going to stick with that.
So DNA that they had found, that the FBI had gone against their own policy into a system and found the father. So the
FBI has their policy wherein they found nothing of DNA.
They did when they put in this general database, they got nothing.
The FBI database. We can't be saying general database. This is an FBI database.
I don't know. I don't know that. But after that, they went into private.
Okay, so they went to 23andMe.
I don't know
which
one.
has maybe a larger.
Yeah, so it went from a 2 million person pool to a 9 million person pool is what Dateline had said.
Okay.
So, and they found they found a actually, now it's coming to me, they found a relative of, so basically they found the grandfather, someone like that. So they knew, and I believe this is while they have Koberger, and then they got trash from his house. They tested that trash, and it was the father of the suspect.
Okay.
And he only has one son.
Okay.
So
the father was there now.
No, right. No. So they're saying the suspect's father was trash. It's his trash. Mm-hmm. Not the suspect's trash. The father's trash.
Okay.
At the father's house.
They're able to link it. So that's why they call it partial DNA, is it's not exactly the defendant's DNA.
Right. So
where do they find this DNA?
They found it on the knife sheath on the snap button. So there's 4 killings. They didn't find anything. No DNA, nothing, no hair, whatever, anything, skin.
Remarkable.
In that entire thing, and none of their DNA in his car or in his life. They found, so they said on that one knife sheath, which they found under one of the bodies, not the knife, but the sheath, they found it on the snap. And they said he would have wiped everything, but probably forgot to wipe that. But I asked you, is there a fingerprint? I mean, because if
you did ask me that, and it's so funny how big, huge cases that get so much run don't have simple evidentiary procedures or steps that just get skipped, and then a jury start to go, why didn't they just, because it's a snap, right? Mm-hmm. It's a button, and it was left behind. Ooh. Mm-hmm. And so why don't they have a fingerprint? Well, the best answer to that question is to leave it open for the jury to just go, what? And have them stew on it a little? Well, or maybe a lot?
This is before trial, so they could introduce something like that.
I understand, but it will be introduced. If I had anything to do with it, I would let that roll in because it really jams it up in their can with their own argument, I'll let them go nuts with it. I'll let them really hammer that home and then just ask a few questions and be done. So you had it tested all over the place for DNA. You don't have quite a perfect match, but pretty close for government work, right? I mean, what are they going to say? No? Mm-hmm. I mean, they're going to say...
Well, what do you think about them going against their own policy? Because they don't do that, but they did for this case. And they don't do that. It's not a law or a hard rule.
I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that, but because it's not a law or hard rule, and it's likely going to... That's an argument that you have before the trial begins. So that's what's called a motion in limine, to where you're arguing that shouldn't come in because... But the judge likely is going to allow the procedure because it was in an investigative, vein.
No matter what the policy
right.
is.
Likely so. Because courts have used 23andMe along... or
probable cause? I mean, if they didn't have why didn't they just get a warrant? Is what I'm asking you, to do that. Like, why did they have to go kind of backdoor or in a sneaky way?
I'm not sure they didn't have a warrant or not. That wasn't part of the announcement. They did not have a warrant?
They did not have a warrant for his... So they weren't able to get that
okay,
warrant?
Hold on. Okay, we're talking about the trash can.
Until they had the trash, but they got the trash they got that person through...
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. You don't... For trash purposes and things that are refuse or things that are thrown away, they're not on property and it's not considered a search because you're just going through the trash. You are actually searching for a specific, an aluminum can or maybe a ball of hair that's chucked or whatever. You're going through some stuff that's going to have... Everything has DNA on it. So this brings me to another thing that you said a minute ago, and then I'll let you take the horn again there. And make sure you talk right into that microphone. Yeah, pretty close. And so what happens is you have everybody wanting to pin something on somebody quick because you have irate parents and scared community. This is a small community. Yeah. Moscow, Idaho, and Washington, right there. They're the two universities right there. The Pullman and Moscow. Small communities. There's a little competition going on between them, but all in all, just small mountain communities that have a pretty decent population. Not a big population, but a decent population of scared as all get out people. And their industry is education. There's two universities there within 20 to 40 miles of each other. Yeah, they're really close.
They're close, yeah.
They're really close. So their whole entire industry is education. Fear does not do well.
Well, half the kids went home for the rest of the semester.
See?
From both.
So fear does not bode well for their business there. Now, I have my own opinion on this whole fear factor and what ifs and everybody being soft and wussy, but that's nothing to do with what you're asking. All I'm saying is fear does not do good for business.
Right. So you're saying in the often competitive business,
there's money behind this, there's motive behind this, that they need to have their guy, and the fat-bellied sheriff needs to slap his tummy and say, "Got my guy, got my guy." And I don't care what it takes. Got my guy. Nope, that's my guy. That's my guy. He's already hung, so that's my guy. So that's might be what's happening. I don't have a dog in this hunt, but it's odd to me that there is no DNA but for a left behind sheath for a knife, which somebody that is that meticulous, somebody that is that's what they're wanting you to believe. Somebody that is that meticulous, this Furburger, what's his name?
Koberger.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
This Koberger guy, they're saying that, he's, 2 bricks shy of a load. He's got himself some Asperger's or whatever other burger you got. And he's, but he's this whiz when it comes to committing crimes, which my understanding is he has no crimes that he has heretofore committed.
He was a teacher's assistant working on his doctorate, his PhD in criminology.
Okay.
So the evidence. Okay.
Well, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that because that's kind of a fun part.
Also, there were 2. Dateline also dropped this as well in his favor. There were 2 sets of bloody handprints, or there was two different bloody handprints in the house that were not tested.
And then they ripped the damn house down.
Yes. They did take the wall. They did take the drywall behind the killings. But these 2.
But there are 2 handprints that are not tested.
2 marks that they think were made by hands, not like handprints, but 2, I think.
Okay.
But 2 different. I remember 2.
But have not been tested.
2 different blood type, 2 different bloods, but were not tested.
For fun.
For DNA, or
Just for fun, they just decided that wasn't important.
And that's on the way out. So they said that this killer came in the second way, went up to the 3rd floor, came down, killed on the 2nd floor, and then went out the second way. Never went down to the 1st floor. But this blood was found on.
So you're gonna have 12 people in this jury, and you need to stir up doubt in their mind. So Kohlberger, Furburger, whatever burger, have a burger, is supposed to be this criminal mastermind because of his because he's studying
criminology,
everything there is to study about a motor in a vehicle, and he is studying a motor in the vehicle day in, day out. These motors, he just turns books, writes papers about the starter and about the batteries and about the spark plugs and about the all these things, but he's never touched a wrench.
Yeah.
He's never had a screwdriver in his hand. He's never popped a hood.
No.
Okay. So murdering people all meticulous like?
Right.
You know.
But by the way, within 13 minutes. 4 people in 13 minutes. I'm dead serious.
I mean, that's some pretty good swordsmanship. So you know what this means? Do you know what this means? This is a fun case this would be a crazy train cool case to defend.
Oh my gosh.
And to be able to talk about it from a little bit of a view, which is how I like to look at our cases here, is to look at them here and then discuss it with the attorneys that are handling it. I like to look at these things and go, okay, well, let's take this approach. Let's take this approach. You've seen this happen before where, somebody hears the word DNA and it's almost, party's over, said the girl.
You assume.
Yep. And you were assuming at that point too. But I continued to drill down and you kind of chewed me out. Remember this? It was kind of fun. You kind of chewed me out, but as the case unfolded, it started to look like, oh, maybe he had something. I kept calling it flimsy DNA, flimsy DNA, flimsy DNA, flimsy DNA, flimsy DNA. I'm not in front of a jury at this point, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter yet. I got to choose.
Just give you some advice about maybe when you were in front of the jury.
She doesn't want me to look dumb. I love that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was awesome that I chose that word because I believe that to be the case. So 13 minutes, 4 dead, all with a knife.
All with one knife and no evidence, no cut himself, no. There was a ferocious fight in in the upstairs, and that's what they say. The knife sheath was dropped on accident, and he got flustered from that. That's what they claim. And
so he's in a ferocious fight within this 13 minutes.
Right.
It's pretty good. I mean, this is okay. Just to put this into context for you, Paige, you're gonna like this. This scene was 27 minutes shorter than any of Tom Cruise's scenes in Mission Impossible. Any fight scene that he's in Mission Impossible is going to go on for at least 38 to 42 minutes.
Yeah.
Because we just have to make sure that we knew Tom Cruise was in a fight or on top of a plane hanging from every area of the airplane. Making sure that we know that he hung from every spot of that airplane because we didn't get the idea right at the beginning. Anyway, so this happened in 13 minutes with a big fight.
And he had a seat. This is also revealed in Dateline. I'm just saying what it was. But he had a seat after the 4th one, and the 4th one was in there.
He just took a seat
in the view of the.
Is he still on the clock? The 13 minutes?
Oh yes.
Okay.
He's on the clock. All 4 have now been
mortally
wounded.
Okay,
in a way.
mortally wounded.
Had a seat and then carved the back of one of the boys' legs. Carved was the word that was used from the source to Dateline. So,
What'd it mean?
I don't know. We don't know what that means.
Dateline didn't let that slip?
No. They don't know what it means. They just have that word carved.
What
that
word was used?
Carved.
Oh, it was carved was the word?
Was the back, yes. The back.
Just carved.
Carved into Ethan's legs. Ethan was...
The word carved was carved in...
No, get out of here.
I want to know the word.
We don't.
Oh, we don't know the word.
We don't know.
It didn't say black hand or,
But had a seat.
Sinaloa.
Had a seat on the thing and then was out of
Gambino family. No, none of that?
No, okay. No.
Oh.
No big G or anything.
Okay, so I would say this. If I'm defending this and I see I'm going to look at what these types of crimes usually look like. They don't usually look like a dweeb that is a professor's assistant in a nearby college that has no criminal background and that just so happens to drive a white car.
Who's awkward, but there's no ties to these other
and
people.
I've got a cell phone that has no ties, no anything. I've got zero that pull him to that building or to any of the individuals that are dead. So zero pulling me there. I'm going to probably use the common approach system here. I'm going to actually look into, and it's not going to be very hard because everybody just pukes all their personal information on the internet nowadays. And so the social media of those that have been, unfortunately, are gone. I'm going to look at everything, because the reality is this is almost always, like we're talking statistically, damn near way better than the DNA result. Almost always something wherein it is, Noah just came in and distracted me, but it's almost always a crime of passion. Almost always, especially with the carving thing going on,
right?
And the violent woohoos and the duking it outs. And hang on just a second, we're going to push this on pause, but everybody's going to get to hear this. Noah, what's happening?
We have a client here for you.
What's that?
Our client is here for you that I told
How
you
long
about.
has he been here?
He's been here about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, and this is the friend?
Yes.
Okay, I'll be right up.
Thanks, Noah. I'd turn the camera towards you if I could, but it's over there. Okay, but I have questions because this is what I really wanted to ask. This is really what I wanted to get to.
Do you want to write it down and we'll push pause?
Yes, but can I ask one thing?
Oh, yeah, go.
Okay. Would this evidence be thrown out? Or?
The judge has to weigh if he throws out the evidence, or does its probative value, which means does its value, its intrinsic value to the case, does that outweigh the rights of the accused? Okay? Does that outweigh? What weighs heavier? Does it prejudice Kohlberger, Stalwart? Does it prejudice the defendant more so than its worth is in the case? So if that is the case, and now that you've got Dateline, this incredibly wonderful rag that loves to sell and has been on the air forever, and it is not true. Don't buy it, but it is good. It is fantastic drama, and the dude has a sweet voice.
Look, the facts may be. Look, Dateline's it's reputable. They don't put something out unless it is something. But could that be seen as?
Dateline is performative. They are selling to people.
That's a different issue. We're talking about this one.
But my point is there is elements of truth to all of these things, and all I'm picking up on is how I would use this for that defense, this for this defense, this for this story, this for this, because I've got a person that's considered guilty, period, end of story, regardless of how but they were really reaching for somebody to pin this on very quickly. So my attention would be first, how quickly was that arrest made?
Yeah, it was within
after this
a month, within the month, but he was on the radar within. They were investigating him specifically, I think, for a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
Okay.
So a week after this.
So pretty short time frame between custody,
Time of arrest.
having somebody in custody, which is going to cause the community to breathe easy, whether that somebody was just picked out of a bucket or good enough for government work is really what kind of happens sometimes. Because you've heard me say in the often competitive business of ferreting out crimes, they will cut corners. And the system is not kind to those that are accused. So you were saying about, I believe I was talking about how typically, and jurors start to kind of wonder why certain things happen. Like, why would there be anything to, like, why would this guy have any interest in this particular thing when there is zero on his telephone, zero in his social media, zero really like connection to that
There's
area?
Zero connection to them at all. And then they said that there was cell phone evidence of him driving by the house 23 times in the 4 months or 6 months leading up to. But when it kind of shook out, it was really that his phone just connected to a tower that fed their house, not by the house, not physically by the house. Yeah.
So the 4.5 towers, or the 1.5 towers, better put, for this small rural area, is being utilized for. Okay.
Like this tower can even be used by, like, he lives in Pullman, Washington, which is the other university. He goes to the other university. He lives there, and it said that this tower can actually even be used if these are overcrowded. This one he could still be literally at his house, and it just connects when it's,
Yeah, and so those are the experts that you're going to want as far as defending the case. Usually juries, you got to understand, the major thing that nobody's really talking about here, and who knows if the stylist or this stylish public defender is going to go down this route or not. Let's hope so. Let's hope that somebody gives her the 411 of this podcast. But what I would say is it's very challenging for a jury of 12 that already think that somebody is guilty at the beginning.
Right.
But if you don't dislike them, meaning there's nothing to dislike them about, they're likable. So I'm going to compare Furberger to Diddy. And Diddy's not likable. But they charged him, the biggest crime that they charged him with, and this is a little bit off, the beaten path, but I'll bring it back in a minute. The biggest crime they charged him with was RICO. And RICO has the biggest penalty, is the biggest hammer swing in that case. They didn't charge him for abusing the Cassie gal. They didn't charge him for, drug use. They didn't charge him for any of these things, but that's what they're proving so far is he is a dirtbag. But they charged him with RICO. And I've never seen in all my days, ever one time, one person being charged with conspiracy. RICO is a conspiracy. It's a criminal enterprise statute. How can you have a criminal enterprise with Diddy and Diddy? And Diddy and Diddy and Diddy and Diddy and Diddy, yo, Diddy, 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 yo. I mean, that might be a new awesome song that's going to come out with that yada yada broad. But my point is I've never seen a solo person. If they're going after the Gambino family, it's Gambino, it's this person, it's that person, it's that person. It's like 57 different defendants. You've seen this in your experience here. And so here we have this very high-profile trial unfolding right in front of us, and he's coming off very dirtbag and very unlikable and very just kind of creepy.
Yeah, and I guess that's what, but, his attorney said because he has autism or Asperger's, he's not going to show expression the same way. He's not going to be likable or he's not, like, the jury's going to see him be expressionless when he's accused, it might taint them. Does it make sense?
No, I would rather my clients be like that every time.
Rather than what they get.
Absolutely.
Anyway, like,
This is a very inexperienced person then. You want your clients to be as motionless as you can. What have I told our people? Do not respond. No body language. I mean, over and over. And it's damn near impossible for them. The minute you become unlikable, and it's not hard to earn that badge. The minute you become like, oh, gross.
Well, right.
Gross. Once you
Yeah.
become that, and that even affects dudes nowadays. It's crazy. But anyway, we're gone are the days of 12 angry men.
So there's a lot of smut being put out, but when I'm looking at the smut, it's not that smutty. Makes sense. Like pictures of girls in bikinis.
smutty.
I'm just saying I don't.
Oh, the stuff on his phone?
Yeah, like I'm not saying I just saying that he's probably not the only guy.
Looking at girls in bikinis?
Yeah.
That's it? They don't have like Pornhub?
They have porn searches for some unsavory things like
How old is this guy?
he's 27.
He's 27.
Yeah.
He's single, and he looks at porn. So he's like
Forced.
98%. Oh, what?
There was a search for forced.
Forced. Like pornography? Like aggressive pornography, that
I
kind of
think
thing?
so. Is what the connotation or the contact. The
Doesn't
illusion.
really
Which
link up to this scenario, but
It doesn't. There wasn't a that kind of assault, which I don't. So I don't know. I don't. But again, I don't think he's the only one. I don't. There was a search for Ted Bundy. Okay.
But you said that he's a criminal.
He's a criminology major, or he's a PhD, working as PhD.
Wasn't there just a Netflix thingy on the Bundy guy?
Yeah.
Or was
like,
that Dahmer? I think it was
don't
Dahmer.
remember.
But I mean, look.
But there's
go
a ton
on.
of things. But a lot of people are interested in that kind of thing, But especially if he's going to school for it. But
Right.
so I guess I just don't see. They used his. He'd been. They had mentioned. It was mentioned somewhere that he'd lost 100 pounds in high school or the end of high school, and that was an example of his extremism. And so being someone who's lost weight, I mean,
100 pounds, congratulations.
yeah, like
Great
he's
for
27,
good for him.
still has it off and kicked a heroin addiction apparently.
Oh, okay.
Again, an example of
A good thing, not a bad thing.
extremism.
Yeah.
And so this is in that category. Apparently.
I think everybody wants a guilty
It's a
verdict.
weird-
They want it. And so,
it's weird.
and he may be and he may not be.
Yeah.
I don't really know. But the reality is this defense has to be curtailed, has to be really leveled on. You've got to use a measure of common sense over and over and over again.
Can I ask, because I wanted to interview you about this process. I mean, so the change of venue, this is the third venue.
Yeah.
So they say there's been a lack of leadership in this case until this judge has been a leader and
Judge isn't supposed to be a leader, but carry on.
but kind of the buck stops and we're doing making hard decisions or making decisions.
Okay.
And so but he took it under. So I need to research more because I don't know now what's been filed. Could this be thrown out? Could the trial be pushed back? Like they're saying, let air between this Dateline special and the time of the trial because it's supposed to start next month, and so they're saying push it back a year. Or she's asking to push it back a year for this
I
reason.
do a
And
motion to dismiss.
Right, and she'd said that I think she's working on that. Is that something that she's wondering if that's can be on further remedies, further remedies. I can't remember the more serious remedies than just pushing the trial back. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if that's
we'll find out.
a legitimate.
And
he's thinking on it.
Yeah, the gag
didn't
order
rule
being
on it.
violated is pretty significant as far as.
Is it?
Yeah, it's pretty. The evidence that's floating around out there that now everybody is privy to that you and I are talking about, like it's common. Like we got a car, we got a circling the car, we got cell phone towers, we have a partial DNA. People start to this is why they wanted somebody to pin this on so quickly. This is why they wanted it, because this is their community. This is who serves in that community. This is like priority to Moscow and Pullman, Washington. This is who they are. They're university towns, and you've got 4 dead, 3 girls, making it worse. Typically, these types of cases are not some sicko that is practicing his murdering skills, especially somebody that's carving in a leg and things of that nature.
Yeah.
That's usually has some build-up behaviors.
Yeah, that's like nothing, from nothing to that.
Yeah, that's like a 0 to 60. So you've got to really, if I'm the prosecution, I'm dotting all my I's, crossing all my T's, and I'm not taking too much liberties. I'm going to be very to the point, black and white, black and white, black and white, black and white, boring almost. But if I'm the defense, I'm not going to be as black and white. I'm going to be like common sense, common sense, common sense, common sense, common sense. They can't for sure put him there. They can't for sure, okay, what kind of taekwondo classes is he taking? And what kind of, stretching and military background?
There is a jiu-jitsu, I think, background or taekwondo background.
Yeah, I'd want to know all about that.
Kind of thing. In him particularly.
I want to see how good he is. I want video. You know what I mean? I would want to show that as a prosecutor. This is what this man is capable of, because you have a 13 and out with a break and a carve.
13 minute, like
right,
from
no
the car coming
DNA
into view and the car leaving view. So that they allege. So that's also getting out of the car, sneaking in.
Yeah, and no DNA, getting in a fight, and a partial DNA drop.
Nothing in his car.
That's a toughie.
No connection to that house, those people. None.
I just am finding this very challenging.
So
if I'm a prosecutor, I'm going to dot every I and cross every T. But if he's found not guilty, if he's found that way, okay. Now we have ourselves an interesting aside, because you have a murderer at large, or you have an OJ scenario, which everybody just thinks he got off, right?
Right.
Or you have a murderer at large. I feel like this one wouldn't fall in the OJ scenario. I think that people would be like, he might not have done it, and there's somebody out there. That somebody is in the circle. If that's the case, that somebody's in the circle of the dead. Very close in the circle of the dead, and I would be investigating that like nobody's business.
Right.
If I were law enforcement.
So that brought me back to the 2 blood marks that were not tested for DNA or not tested for, but then my next question was: is it common or responsible? Why would they rip down that house before tear down? I understand that. You don't want the attraction. Like, people are coming they're coming out of the country to see this house and stuff. It's but it's a crime scene. So how common? Very uncommon.
Very uncommon. So they seize evidence that they don't even remotely care to use in trial, and they hang on to it just for the what if. And so it's very weird that they had done that. Number 2, I'm sure it was a disturbance in the community, but those things blow over. They just do. I mean, the Salem witch people, the little crosses that, from time to time you'll see a crowd around them.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there was a place to go once upon a time more regularly.
Yeah. I mean, I know probably weird people like Ted Bundy's. They've seemed, I don't know, there's probably places like that.
Oh, yeah, no, people are morbid and like to visit that kind of jazz. I mean, it just is what it is. But the reality is the looky-loos, the rubberneckers are going to not be, frequenting, Pullman, Washington, very often after there's another scandal. There's another story. Once this dirty laundry piece is out. And so we're talking about it now, but, I mean, you to pimp, Idaho, this is all going down over there, and it's kind of interesting. But the reality is there's 2 sides and 2 approaches, and it's very odd that there's some unturned stones. But again, we're playing, this is how we make our living. This is what we do. We sit there and go, all right, which play do I want here in this chessboard? Which play do I want here? And where am I at over here? And where am I at over here? And I'm toggling these switches in these types of cases. And the reality is losing sight of what makes sense. Mm-hmm. Because you're coming out of watching Dateline, and you're coming out of hearing
Dateline,
Megyn Kelly, and you're coming out of hearing all the other people out there that are squawking on other of these social media rags, and you have a complete different takeaway. Mm-hmm. You're like, well, hold on, wouldn't there be a lot of cars like that in that area? And you're like interviewing me, and we were driving down.
Wouldn't there be a fingerprint if it's on a
right? Which is a great question.
If there's a DNA, then there would be or a partial.
You would think.
Right.
And you would think every smudge of blood was tested, and you would think that,
especially that,
you would think that the murder weapon would be. They don't have that. They don't have. There's a lot of missing things. They don't have. They don't really have him there. They don't have an identification. They don't have.
If he got out of that
there.
scene and then got in that car, I mean, I don't see how that could not how you could not leave something in it.
There's somebody that actually didn't. Or said they could not identify him.
Right. Well, the girl, one of the surviving girls opened the door supposedly and saw him as he walked out. And so the person, and then said he had bushy eyebrows. And then when they showed her picture of, again, this is also on Dateline. So see, Dateline says both. It says all the different. They showed him. They showed her a picture of him, and she goes, "I don't know who that is, or who is that? I've never seen him before." Which the person had a mask on, I think, is what they said, is what she had said, but it's in the dark. She's very drunk. She was very drunk. Everyone was very drunk.
Yeah, all the dead people were very drunk.
Right.
They didn't feel it that much.
There's
some solace with that.
That's a terrible.
Well, I mean, it's a sedative. I mean, there's some solace. It's a terrible story. It's absolutely terrible. My opinion is,
but
I don't know.
She even said, she goes, I felt like I was in a dream state, like I was in a weird. So
she was doing ayahuasca.
No, I mean, she'd been sleeping.
Dropping shrooms?
She'd been sleeping, and she'd been drunk, and so she's like, I don't know, because they waited a very long time to call police.
Well, let's talk about this thing again. Because they waited hours to call the police.
8 hours.
Which is very strange also.
Like, it was enough of a...
So there couldn't have been... My point is, on this household, this whole thing that's going on...
It was like a
sorority thing going on, a sorority deal. All right, that's great. That's fine. There's probably more than 4 people there at any given time, and some comings and goings, and it's... I don't remember what time of day this happened, or night, or whatever. It was 4 in the morning on a Saturday, like a Sunday morning, I think, or a Saturday... Well, you'd think that'd be pretty quiet.
No, it was a Saturday
time.
morning, 4 in the morning, or Sunday morning. I'd have to look at the date.
That'd be pretty quiet time, I would assume, but not a lot of coming and going. Mm-mm. And so that would be a comer and a goer would be a little bit strange at that time of day. Somebody getting up to pee that's, getting up from an all-night, party and not 100% there.
She
hard
was
to
not
identify.
getting. She was hearing commotion. She was woken up out of sleep by the noise upstairs above her. The room where the 2 girls above was right above her. She was woken up and then
2 girls were so scared that they just hung out for 8 hours before they even did anything.
And then they called a friend and had him come over and check it out. And he told them to call 911. But he didn't go anywhere near the crime. He didn't go anywhere near. He just looked and could see.
I find that strange, just to be square. Like, that's outside of normal
very weird
behavior.
thing.
That's outside of normal.
The whole thing is very...
Dude comes over and he's like, oh, I'm not going to, it starts...
No, he just goes to check on the people.
Right, I understand, but I'm going to tippy-toe around and not be part of any evidentiary or anything like that. That's not normal behavior. You get called because somebody's scared. You cruise over there because you're a buddy there, and you're like, holy, and you see this, you're going to be all over that place by natural. Oh my gosh, you're going to be checking bodies. You're going to be calling 911 like immediate. That's odd behavior.
There's a lot of blood. Like there's a lot of blood, and I think he saw the blood. I don't know. It didn't. No one's talked to him.
Is he part of your family?
Very funny, but came out. And anyway. It's a weird thing.
It's pretty good one.
Yeah, I'd have to lay down after that. I'd pass out and be clammy and something like that. So.
Yep, smelling salts. Mm-hmm. She always has some in her pocket. All right. Well,
Never
we'll
heard
talk
that.
more about this. Interesting stuff.
I'll have to look it. I'll look it up a little bit more, and we'll catch up currently.
Well, we'll be more current next time.
Yeah.
Idaho, you to pimp.
You are the pimp.